This is part two of the October 30th stream. It was interrupted, so I just started a new stream. The other one should eventually upload. It'll be named part one, but here we are with part two because the app just crashed and the stream was interrupted. So I was before we got interrupted, we were just working on this lower side here. In part one, we finished the top paneling mostly. Might do some additional stuff here in the back eventually, but that's gonna be like auxiliary, so it's not gonna be too important. I'm thinking about making a cover like here wrapping around, similar to the old Astra. But anyways, after we did this piece in the first part of the stream, that was interrupted, and yeah, we started working on the nose here, and we placed this straw structure here, which is just a single thin diameter straw. It's going to be the loft structure for the nose underneath. And we're just working on the panel piece here for the nose, and it got interrupted just when I was about to fit this on. So here we are with the second stream. So here we go. Just gonna work on this. That's decent there. So this tail end here can be trimmed down. And I just freeform define this shape. It's not too terribly important exactly that it has to match, And this piece right here, just trimming that to relieve stress so that we're able to fold it down over this complex curvature piece. Yeah, so this works. It does fit here, and then with that nose piece there, you can do this kind of a fold, and that'll secure the piece in place. So yeah, I just made a little slight cut here to relieve stress. Now it can fit in. So I think we might need to deepen this cut a little bit so that it works a little bit better. Maybe like 2/3 of the way up. Yeah, this might be a little bit better, so I can actually do a bend like this, and then we can wrap the outsides around. So anyways, welcome to the part two stream if you're new here. YouTube keeps on interrupting these streams, so I have to just start anew with a new stream. But apparently the old stream will eventually be available to view. It's just, it'll take a while for that to happen. So I think this is ready. This nose panel here is pretty much ready for a I guess official panel here. So this is gonna be interesting. Yeah, this pretty much takes up the entire length here. There's no way to adjust it to save material here. I guess this is probably the best way here. Put the nose in the corner like that. That saves the most amount of material here. Anyways, let's just zoom in a little bit. Going to draw a contour here. And transfer the contour line here. and then just gonna keep that as is. All right, I'm gonna cut this out and see how it fits. Looks like a little chunk is missing from the nose here, but we're gonna be covering it over with, you know what I'm gonna say. We're gonna be covering over it with a piece for the nose cone, so we won't be able to see it too much. Okay, and right now I'm just gonna mark out where to cut here. So because this piece is the final work piece, we don't want to actually fold it over and then make one cut across 2 layers. Really do want to give it that flexibility here. So we're gonna cut this separately. They should be the same lines as before, same location. Just transferring it to new final workpiece here. So cut it like that, and you know, you can erase the graphite marks, pencil marks here. Make a cleaner nose, but it doesn't matter too much because we're gonna be covering it over anyways. So right now we're just gonna pre-fold this, pre-bend this into a curve so that it more nicely matches the geometry underneath. And again, this is going to be very slight because this is a very shallow part. It's not as, you know, curvy as this top here, right? So it's, you know, I'm gonna go with a shallower fold, and I think we do want to keep this on the outside. That'll allow it to create that nice contour, like this compound surface here. So the next step here is to start attaching this. So I think we're gonna match up the nose because that's gonna be the most critical piece here. The nose has to look good. So what we're gonna do is there are these slightly flat sides here, if you notice. So we're gonna tape this down on both sides, and then, so we're gonna constrain these 2 sides, and then we're gonna work on the nose here. Sounds like a good plan to me. And for that, you just grab a length of tape like this. Really, the trickiest bit is the first surface that you're gonna do this on. And also, you don't want this excess to interrupt the compound fold. There we go. All right, that looks decent. I just align this on top of the bones here, and there we go. Very tightly wrap this around. It has to be reasonably taut. If you apply too much force, you're gonna deform the structure. So again, everything is there's a good amount, a proper amount to go with. You don't want to be too excessive. Okay. So I'm gonna do the same here on this side. Like that. Right, just attach it here first, and then pop this piece of tape underneath. It's a very small piece, so I'm not going to bother cutting it. And then you fold this over like so, and line up the edges. You pull it taut here. I'm going to finish off the nose here, because that's pretty important. Okay. So grab a piece of tape, line it up in the middle here. The very first thing that I'm going to tape is this back piece right there. Get that in place, and then come the fun parts of breaking this curve down so that we can more closely take this. There's a little strand of printer paper. I removed that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Not gonna lie, that looks decent. Of course, the back isn't done yet, so it looks a little bit wonky, but get the idea. I know you're not supposed to cut towards yourself, but what else are you gonna do in this case? There we go. That's better. This nose piece, this nose cone is gonna do such a good thing for this plane. It's gonna make it look sharp again. Right now it looks a little bit dull. There's so many layers here accumulated. But with just one more piece, if we compress it all down, it should look decent. So again, I'll tape the back first here, and then relieve stress here, break it into 3 pieces. just tautly, I don't even know if that's a word, just tightly pull that across this edge here. So you do need to finish the edges at some point as well. And then this last bit here at the very front. And this is why we need the nose cone, because this is a mess. So many layers of tape here. So if we cover all that up, it looks clean. But this nose looks decent. It's a nice 3D structure. And now we can finish off this bit right here. So if we keep it like that, I'm just not used to this new contour. It's a little bit thicker in the front. But I think it looks decent. Yeah, so need to do that. Tape down each of these sides here, and then I think we might need another cut. Yeah, we might need a cut right at this corner to help align all of these things. Alright, so if that's the case, then oh god, it's gonna be a little bit of a surgery here, because we can't really, unless we use our X-Acto knife. So if we cut this in, should allow for a better fold, but I don't think we can do it at this corner anymore. It's really tight. I can't get in there. Or just kidding, I can. All right. Well, all right, so we're gonna aim for a point right about here. Okay, I think here should be good. So if we try and draw like a line from that corner to that point, very light. You don't have to, compress it to death here. Again, it's that corner to that line. So if we did everything right, it should be symmetric. And a lot of this is eyeballing. Does it look? Nope, it does not look symmetric. It has to go a little bit more forward. There we go. That's a little bit better. Just gotta erase this line in the back. It's very faint. You guys probably can't see it, but if you erase that, so don't get confused. All right, so we're gonna cut along that line to right about here. Horizontally over, transfer that point, so it's symmetric. That's to relieve stress to allow this part to fit down better. All right, so we're gonna put our blade right here. Make a first cut here. It really needs to be that deep, this cut, because you need a certain amount here to start folding down, just kind of like with the nose, right? Because if you cut all the way, then you essentially separate these three pieces. But if you cut it a bit off of the center, it's still one integrated piece. It's just you relieve the stress here, the buckling amount of material. So when the material compresses together, when you fold it, you relieve that stress, and it allows it to form to this nice shape. And so here I'm going to, this one is going to be a little tough because this is a right-handed scissor. So, oh god, this is a little bit difficult. There's a little bit of thickness with the blade. So I might have to ad hoc do this by hand, at least this initial bit here. Yeah, just the initial bit just enough to get our blade underneath. Okay, so that wasn't enough. That clearly wasn't enough. Alright, yeah, you really shouldn't be cutting toward yourself, but here I am doing so. Cut away, there we go. Right, and then trim, and trim, there we go. Okay, so this side is gonna be a little bit rough, but no matter, we will cover it up. That is kind of the mantra of surface modeling here, is don't worry about it, we'll cover it up later. That's kind of the strategy, overarching strategy here. Okay, so we're gonna tape this side down. It's a fairly straight edge, so I'm confident that we'll be able to do so without many problems. Of course, problems still arise, just it's a little bit less obvious. I don't know what I'm talking about. Half these streams are just me ranting on about these concepts that you probably don't understand. But when I watch it back in the future, if I do, I will understand what I'm saying. Hopefully. That's the goal. But anyways, let's do the other side here. This is really difficult. Yeah, this edge is a little bit rough. Cross this flatter, so make a flatter nose here. That looks a little bit better. And then, as usual with these sides, we use our X-Acto knife to trim this down. And it's oddly satisfying. Okay, and then I'm gonna do the same for this side. There we go, perfect contour match. And how it pretty much finishes the back end here, or the front end rather, the nose. I just want to finish off this surface a little bit better. Wondering how to do that. I think what I'm gonna do is temporarily tape this in place. Yeah, this is a rough edge right there. Not ideal, especially if you want it to fly. So temporary. Well, I guess it's not really temporary. It's gonna be part of the aircraft structure, but it'll cover it over, solve the problem for now. Definitely need a nose cone, because look at that nose tip right there. it's like split apart. There's like 5 different layers. There's 2 layers of cardstock. There's 1 layer of popsicle stick, and then there's 2 outer layers of cardstock. And it's just a mess. But this thing should be very durable. It's like, this is like very solid. Like, you hear that? That's like really solid. So it's gonna definitely be able to handle crashes, hopefully. Hopefully. I haven't tested this out, so I don't know. But definitely need to cover out this nose. That's gonna be the next step here. But also, these side panels here are exposed. I guess it's not really panels, they're like underlying structure. And I'm thinking about this as an opportunity to smooth out these two. Actually, the nose cone is probably gonna smooth out this set of seams here, but this seam right here, it's not necessarily symmetric, but if we build a surface that covers that and then looks a little bit well designed and intentional, then it'll look a lot cleaner here. So I think I'm gonna do that, and this should be a fairly straightforward piece to work with. You know, it's this part is quite flat, right? This is not a very intensely curvy. I don't know what I'm saying, but it's not very curvy, so it should be easy to map a flat piece of printer paper here as a template, and then we can trace out a shape and then cut it. And I think if it's symmetric, then we only need to do this once on one side and then use the template to create 2 of these panels here. So that sounds like a plan. And then after we figure out that, we can either work on the nose cone here or try and figure out how to finish off this portion here in the rear. But I feel like for today, we're probably gonna focus on the nose. I'm not sure how much time we have left. We're at 7:14 right now. So I started at 5:30. These things usually go on for like 2 hours 10 minutes. So I'll usually stop around 7:40-ish. So that means I have, I don't know, 25 minutes left. Yeah, 25 minutes, give or take. So we'll see how far we can get in that time. But this is looking good. This nose is like, there's a 3D structure now. I'm not sure if I entirely like the profile, but I think it looks better than being flat, you know. So this is a plus. Again, we'll smooth out this panel line right here with a custom designed panel here. So let's go on here and continue working on this. Just need to design something here to cover that. And it's really interesting because, you know, if you make it look intentional, then it looks smoother, right? Because if you just leave it like this, and it's just like, oh well, it's a rough panel right there, it's a seam. We could cover it up, and then, like, so for example, on the top here, underneath these panel pieces, it's pretty rough. There are seams all over the place, but once you cover it up with these intentionally shaped pieces, it looks like, you know, this is the design. It was intentional in that sense. I don't know if my point is getting across to you guys, but this is pretty neat, I think. It's a way of covering up, you know, these manufacturing defects and imperfections. So it is what it is. So we're gonna make a panel here. I don't know how far back it should go. I feel like we should leave this for another session. And also, I don't know, maybe the nose cone. The nose cone is gonna definitely take a lot of time to make because we want it to be very good. It's the front of the plane. It should be very clean in presentation, right? The rest of the fuselage, it might not show in all pictures, but the nose is one of those key features, right? You have your wings, and then your canards, and then your nose, right? It's a very defining characteristic, and so it has to be good. It cannot be, eh, you know, like, just left to chance. So it has to be well designed. But this nose looks interesting. It's like, it kind of reminds me of a flanker. If you know, like, Russian designs, they tend to have this droop nose, right? So this little bit of thickness here makes it kind of look like a droop nose. I don't know if that was what I was going for, but it is what I have now, so we'll have to stick with that. Actually, for this, there's a seam right here as well. That's rather interesting. That wasn't there before. Might have to cover over that. But, it is what it is. Just slowly getting there. So I think the reason why it looks so weird is because this corner here is so sharp in transitions. So when I work on this portion here, this is like the mechanism. It needs a little bit of space here, so maybe there'll be a bump, but if I smooth this transition out, I think it'll look a lot sleeker, because right now it's, this looks quite, oh, you guys can't really see that. Let me grab a printer paper underneath so you guys can, higher contrast here so you guys can see. So this shape silhouette, right, it's a little bit bumpy actually, so I don't know if it's not great, but I'm gonna smooth that out, and the nose tone will smooth this out. But anyways, we can thin this down, and then if we increase the fillet radius here, it should smooth this geometry out as well. I'm trying to grab a scrap piece here so that I can show you guys. So if you have something that, bridges these two surfaces like that, it'll make the curve a little bit less obvious. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a matter of judgment. But anyways, the front doesn't look flat anymore, so that's good. Side looks a little bit weird, but we'll work on that. Actually thinking about making one continuous piece here. Interesting idea. So that'll reinforce the nose and also smooth out these two seams in one go. And then the nose cone can go on the outside of that. I don't know. Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe not. I think I'm gonna go with that, to be honest. So, all right. So this is gonna be another panel. So I guess this is really not the final panel anymore. This is more like a support structure underneath. So what we're gonna do now, see, this is like how my process goes. We're aiming for one thing, but then it changes, right, into something else, and you gotta keep an open mind when it comes to design. But anyways, if we mark a straight edge here, I just want a clean straight edge. This edge is, I think it's cut, it's pre-cut, so it's like a little bit wobbly. So I'm just gonna, I could use an X-Acto knife, but I don't know if that's the best idea, because I don't want to cut the, I do have a cutting mat, right, but I just don't want to damage it. So I'm just gonna cut off a tiny sliver here according to this line, and call it a day for a straight line. So this straight line is going to go down the middle of this plane, and we're going to draw our new surface panel piece on top with this edge aligned in. So something like this. I'm going to line it like this and then make one piece that goes all the way down. And so, yeah, the mantra of surface modeling is, I'll save it for later. We'll solve that problem later. We'll smooth it out. So just need a, oh, actually, we already have a temporary piece. Let's grab that. Actually, that's disgusting. So much dust on it. All right, let's grab a new piece. Just a tiny, tiny piece of tape. And that's to secure the middle, or the, the so-called middle. We'll likely need another strip that goes down the dead center, but for now we'll just attach this, and then so and do the same process again, right? Custom made, tailored to this contour here. So I think this time we're not going to use pen anymore because we want a more refined shape. We want to be able to capture the thin edge. So I'll just really should be using like a 4B pencil or 6B, but those leads break really easily. Well, they're perfect for this kind of job where you're just marking geometry down. Thin line, very light line, right? So you hold this in place and you just kind of trace the edge here. Again, it's like how we did the initial nose piece right there, but now it's just we're doing a full length piece to smooth everything out. So that piece that we just made, that can kind of be seen as a structural piece, foundation, right? So, and then for the back here, how do we want to resolve this in detail? So it's a mess, absolute mess back here. There's like underlying structure, there's panels, there's everything. So if we cover all of that up, and I don't know, so the corner is like right about here. And the inner edge is right about there. So if we draw like a straight line here, that's a clean break, right? It's a very clean and defined line. So it might not look great, so we need to think of a way to smooth that into the rest of this piece. And luckily for me, in airplanes, there are often these little edges. So you might see like a panel that was notes from a previous stream, but you might often see like something near the engines, like a panel that kind of goes like this, right? There's like a zigzag shape, and then you have your panel like that. So I might do something like that here, but I'm not sure if it's worth the effort because I still need to cover up this mechanism bit here, the underlying slat deployment, leading edge slat deployment mechanism. So you gotta cover up that. So if we spent all that effort in making this detail, question is, are we gonna cover it up? If we are, then there's no point, right? And also a clean edge like this enables a smoother tape transition, right? If you have like zigzag lines, it's not gonna tape down well. So I think we're just gonna leave it as is. So the question now is, how do we get the line here? So we can like poke a hole through this and maybe, or kind of get a see-through effect from the paper. So here to here needs to be a straight line, and then we should be all set. Just got to take this temporary piece off. So we have our geometry marked out. Now it's just a matter of actually drawing the lines. So we have a point here, 2 points at terminal line, two if they're not on top of each other, points. So here we go. You just want to cut this, right? And then cut this. And then you flip it over, and then this is your entire nose profile. Okay. Just slowly but surely we'll get there. And again, this isn't the final piece. A little bit extra is always okay. You can always trim back down, but you can't add material. All right, so we have a good template here. I just need a actual piece of cardstock to trace it onto. I don't think this is large enough. No, this is not large enough. Show. Closest thing we got. All right, so we have to use a fresh sheet. I say fresh, but this has already been cut into a bunch of times. But we'll see how this goes. Just using old pieces that were already used, conserve material, try to be efficient. This seems like a good fit right here. I don't know, this is like, oh yeah, I need to cut 2 of these. So I can do one like this and then one like this. So it'll match up here and it'll use up this rectangular space. So that sounds like a good plan to me. Man, I wish this would like fit in right there, but this is me being anal about being conservative, but not like politically. I mean, like, you gotta conserve material, that kind of conservative. But yeah, I can't talk about politics nowadays. It's so polarized. But anyways, just trace this down here. Make sure you apply enough pressure to get a very close line, but not too hard that you like you just flip up or start to damage the printer paper here. So tight, but not too tight. It's really a balance. You got to be good at applying pressure, but knowing when the material is going to give. So you apply just enough pressure. If you apply too much pressure, you're going to push this off to the side, right? And you might also damage the edge of this template, because it is printer paper. It is not very strong. It's quite soft. I used to make my planes out of this paper, but then I switched over to cardstock. Some of you might know this, but I see there are 4 people on the stream, so there might be some new viewers here. I used to make planes directly out of printer paper, which is not a great structural solution. I mean, you can like do the classic schoolyard dart or Nakamura lock designs. Those fly decent, right? But you won't be able to like truly model these aircraft that are custom designed and made that look nothing like regular paper airplanes. So this is, I don't know if you would call this necessarily a paper airplane. It is made out of paper, right? They're just cardstock, but there's also a lot of other materials like wooden popsicle sticks inside the fuselage. There's straws, right? Plastic straws. There's a lot of tape, cellophane tape, right? It's a polymer. It's biodegradable. I learned from a couple streams ago. One of my viewers told me, so just incorporating that learning here. Oh shoot! I moved the template. So I'm gonna line it again. Realigning. Yeah, that's the tough bit. So you saw I applied a little bit too much pressure. I buckled the paper and it just started to shift a little bit. You don't want to do that. But yeah, as I was saying, like these types of planes, they involve so many different materials, right? There's also paper clips, brass fasteners, you know, just this hodgepodge of different office supplies. And you know, the idea is that these supplies are cheap, so everybody should have access to them. It's not like some fancy carbon fiber composite thing that a few people can afford, but not many people can. Um, this stuff should be widely available. Like this cardstock only costs like $4 for like 50 sheets, and 50 sheets will last you a very long time. So the idea behind what I do is, you're creating these projects that look amazing and they can do a lot of things like, the canards they can move, right? So you have a mechanism that moves this, you have slats that move, and they're all made out of these very basic office supplies and craft material, right? So popsicle sticks, right? You might think like, okay, that's not exactly an office supply, but it's like $7 for like 1,000, a box of 1,000 of them. So it's highly economical. I like to use really cheap materials to be efficient with the materials as I make things, and it's not only good for your wallet, it's good for your environment too. But it's kind of amazing, like how you can create these very fancy, like complicated objects out of very simple materials. I think there's like some appeal to that. You're creating value out of nothing, essentially. Um, so part of that is, that's kind of why I do it. It's like kind of nice to have these really nicely done models, and they actually fly, hopefully, and they're made out of very simple and cheap materials. So, but of course, with any hobby, you can have it be as expensive as you want, right? So for these new planes, for these new series of designs here, this is called the YX10, or yeah, YX10 Astra M1. This is the M1 variant. I've already made a original prototype. This is like the second version, but I'm calling it M1 because the idea is to do it in stages and get it up to like an S variant, which is like it's so some of the design plans for that are automatic moving parts, and so I'm still trying to research how to do that. Just trying to figure out how to do that, and I think to do that I need some more advanced components like springs, right? These tiny springs. I don't have one on hand right now, and I don't want to dig my drawer to find one, but those springs cost a little bit more. They're like $3 for a pack of like 8 or so, so a little bit more pricey, but they can allow us to do things that would not be possible otherwise. These tiny little metal springs, I can do a quick sketch of what it looks like to really show you guys. So there's like a loop on one end, and then this wire comes here, and then there's like a bunch of coils that go like that, and then there's like another loop on the other side, right? So these types of springs, they're like really small, and they have a lot of tension. So the idea behind this, using more expensive components, is to be able to do things that you wouldn't be able to do with regular office supply components. And so what I haven't planned is to use these springs to make a mechanism that self-engages itself and then deploys these canards slowly during the flight, so that when you reach your top of the throw, top of the arc, when you throw your plane, it'll pull itself into a nice glide down rather than a nosedive straight into the ground. So that's kind of the future of where I'm headed, and hopefully I come up with like an S variant of this design that will achieve that goal. Which would, if I can do that, it's quite impressive, to be honest, because it's you're balancing spring forces with frictional forces inside, right? There's this friction lock mechanism that is really stable. It actuates this canard surface, and it makes it really smooth. So if we can do it like in a timed fashion, it's what I'm calling a timed deployment mechanism. If we can get that to work, then that unlocks so many possibilities in the future, right? Because imagine like a plane like the F-14 with variable sweep wings. It can slowly deploy its wings once it reaches its apex, right? So it starts to glide down with a higher aspect ratio wing, which means it flies longer because the wings are extended, and your wingspan is larger. So things like that. So that's like a huge, I don't know if you'd call it like a technology, but it's like a series of designs that allow you to do that, right? You're employing new materials, new components. So I guess it is in some way a technology. It's just it feels a little bit silly calling it that, because especially because this is a hobby, right? You're not really um, creating world changing objects. It's just having fun, kind of making these sculptures, but also these sculptures actually fly, right? That's how I really see the work that I do here. I'm seeing there's like 5 people on the stream, so I appreciate you guys watching. Feel free to subscribe or do whatever, but you know, really the goal here is to have like an environment where you can be working on your projects and I can be working on mine. And it's every Friday at 5:30, so I don't like schedule them ahead of time. I just do at the time of. So there's not gonna be any reminders or anything. So if you hit like the bell notification, you might be notified. But honestly, it doesn't really matter to me, because as long as one person out there gets something out of it, then it's a job accomplished, mission accomplished for me. Also, these streams, these weekly streams, they act as kind of documentation, right? So like instead of making videos that are precisely edited and finally produced, which takes a lot of effort, right? And that takes a lot of the fun out of doing this. If I do it live, I don't have to worry about any of that. Everything is captured. I don't need to edit, and it's just stream of consciousness, part by part, week by week. We're working on one project for like several weeks now. um, but hopefully these end products will be quite nice as well. So that's kind of the philosophy that I'm going with here. But if you have any comments or questions, definitely feel free to leave them in the live chat right now, or in the comments section if you are watching at a later date. So right now I'm just erasing some of the edges that I used to mark out the geometry. Just clean some of that up because you don't want to see that on your final plane, right? So this is one side, one half of the nose. This is the other. So I'm going to erase some of the lines here. So yeah, slowly but surely getting there, just part by part, piece by piece. These streams are usually 2 hours and 10 minutes. So I'm going to be ending today in like, I don't know, like 5 or so minutes, but I'm willing to go a little bit longer just to finish off this part. And also today's stream got interrupted, so it's I've lost my sense of time with the streaming today. So bear with me here. If we finish this part and it looks great, then that's a great stopping point, and I think we can continue off next week working on the back portion here. But for this component right here, what we want to do is attach this first, kind of anchor the piece down, right, so to speak. So I'm going to take a piece of tape, match it up exactly to the length of this edge that we need, right? This is going to be, I don't know what, 2 inches here. So you can get a piece of tape that matches this edge exactly, and then you just press it in, make sure the adhesive from the tape really binds with the cardstock underneath. And then, since this is a clearly defined edge and feature, or whatever you want to call it, this is quite easy to just line up here, right, with trailing edge here at the corner here, and then this edge, this corner, and this corner match up, right? So it's very easy to do. And you just fold this piece of tape over onto the back here. Should be a very tight, very tight integration here. And I think it looks good. That's a clean edge. You see, it's a very nice edge. I think I still might have to do some edge finishing here after everything's said and done. I have some new materials, right? Aluminum tape. It's gonna be quite interesting to see. In theory, I could even skin this whole thing and have a mirror finish on it, but I don't know if I want to do that at this point because we already have the orange and gray and it looks decent to me. So um, I'm gonna tape this back edge here just to secure it in place. Should be enough material here to do so. All right, so this is back here. Let me just check the chat real quick. Did you listen to Canarsie by Frank Zappa? I missed your response, but Canarsie isn't really a good song. You should listen to Eat That Question for peak Zappa. It's not like paper grows on trees. Well, hey Peter. Thanks for dropping by again. Peter was a classmate from high school, so glad you dropped by for a bit. Yeah, I'm just gonna continue on here and not get distracted because we are running over time. So yeah, I just need to secure this front edge here. Just slowly like go forward like that, segment by segment. And we also might need to cut the tape at various points to make it seamless, I guess. So I'm thinking about taping down the middle first. We need to tape down this back portion, slowly work our way forward. So let's just grab a longer piece here. Okay, that looks decent. And then, so once those two pieces are down, this can now be taped down, right, this front bit here. So just press in a little bit, and then align the edge. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit tight. Might be a little bit of buckling, but tightly pull it over. And it should be all set to go. This is a very sharp, very clean edge right there. And yep, so so each of these nose sides they're going to be slightly different, right? We design it with a little bit of overhang, but we need to cut it down to match the shape that we need. And that's just fact of life for this type of surface paneling. But yeah, this looks good so far. This looks very clean. I think we can start working here. Secure the middle here. So basically this and then this and then this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, just work our way towards the front. And we gotta go, side by side, left and right edges at the same time, so that we don't get some misalignments or anything like that. So we just gotta really work this down here. Yeah, that looks very nice, very smooth. So this panel really did the job of smoothing things out, because the underlying structure here, it's cut at several points, so it has some distinct edges. But if you use one continuous piece, it guarantees smoothness and continuity. It might not be G2 continuous, but there's like a little bit of a curvature change that's a little bit abrupt, but overall it looks a lot smoother if you layer upon layer, build up your design like that. That's also why I want to maybe explore a different, a separate additional panel here to really smooth out this area, because this area looks a little bit hollow, but if we thicken that out, beef it out a little bit, I think it might look a little bit better. But also you got to think about weight, right? You don't want to do too much and cause a lot of weight to just accrue in the design. So I think for this nose piece, I'm going to tape the inside first and then the outside, because the outside, there's a little bit of excess, so we do have to trim that, but also the outside has a lot of curvature, so it's hard to like really tape down the curvature piece first and then the inner edge. So I'm just gonna go inside and then out with that. So go with that. Let's take this down. And then I just like secure this down the middle. Might be a little bit of buckling because I'm trying to center this piece. I'm not allowing it to curve over to this side. It does tend to want to do that a little bit, I'm noticing, but if we do this, I think it should be okay. It's not a huge deal. Just read the comments real quick and just grab my X-Acto knife. All right, noting comments. All right, so for this edge, we can trim this off. All right. All right, looks good. Just tape down the middle here. Again, we'll have like a central panel here, combining the seams and just making everything smooth, just like the top. But it'll take time. We'll probably do that next time. I do want to get this other panel attached as well. So kind of rushing, but not really, going at a heightened pace here. So if we just mark this, should be easier to do. And we just cut this out. Again, I've expressed this need a lot of times before, but you definitely need to make a nose cone here to smooth everything out. It's not going to look good without one. So just did some trimming and just grab a piece right here and start on the bottom, I guess. So we're trying to attach this edge here. What we can do is section this off, because you can't fold a straight edge over a curved piece of material, so just gotta approximate the curve using 3 separate pieces here. Here. Here as well. And then this back portion. All right, so there's a little bit of a missing piece right here. Looks good. The edge is a little bit wobbly, but the overall shape looks good. So with each new generation, we have a little bit more learning, so that's good. But anyway, here we can trim this down the middle. I'm surprised that worked so well. And just trim this off. Just rip the rest off here. It's not perfect, but it'll do. structure is really something. All right, so see how clean it is, right? This is before, this is after. This looks terrible, right? There's so much visual noise here. And then this is after it's been smoothed out. So this is the philosophy behind Surface Paneling. You just build something first and then cover it up if it's not great, if it's not perfect. So, all right, so this is the last piece here. Just have to grab a piece of tape to anchor it down first. Same process as before. Right. Make sure the adhesive binds to the cardstock. Press it in. And then this is the fun bit. It's kind of like a puzzle, right? Where you fit together pieces and watch them click into place. So with this hobby, you're making your own puzzle pieces as you go. There you go. That's a good edge right there. Smooth out any imperfections. Also, erase. There's some light graphite marks. Just gotta get rid of those real quick. All right, no new chats. Looks good. So what did I say? It was like 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3. So outer, back, inner. Okay, so we're gonna do that. Just grab a little piece right here. Should be about the same. This is where eyeballing comes into play. If you're really good at eyeballing, then this is great. This is perfect for you. One, 2, 3. You gotta tape down the middle here, up to this point. Okay, so just tape down the middle. Very snug fit. Make sure it's tight. I also realized something right just now. First of all, I need to trim this tape so that's not in the way of the mechanism. But that's not the real point. The real point is the canards here have to be sealed as well, where the panel is exposed here. So that's gonna be an adventure. I'm really going over today. Really, like going like 30 minutes over, but I just really want to get this piece done. So here we are. Should we probably do the front first? Yeah, it doesn't matter. The canards are gonna be okay, but this needs to be done first. Alright, so this. Oh shoot. It's a little tiny bit slanted. Symmetric parts aren't symmetric, unfortunately, because these sides are slightly different, so it's not gonna fit perfectly. Dang, all right. All right, well, we gotta make adjustments anyway. All right, also, since we're doing like a middle panel here, we can make a slight cut. We're gonna cover this middle up, right? So it doesn't matter if we do a slight cut here. You can relieve some stress, and then I just don't want to make it too wide. So it's a trade-off, right? To make this fit a little bit more give in this material. So, well, nothing's perfect. I'll just do like a strip down the middle here, and we're all said and done, and then panel more here next time. But let's get this thing done here. So this is approximately this much tape. Okay, looks good. Going to So for this, half on, half off, like usual. I'm gonna pinch this edge close in, so like it's gonna fold. You see this fold? It's gonna come over itself a little bit. In the process, it's gonna self adjust to this constraint. So I'm gonna do that. Tightly wrap it around the edge. Okay, so as long as the outer edge looks good, we're all good to go. And then the inner edge, there's a little bit of overlap here, and then we'll cover that later, so it's not a huge deal. Strategy, man. You gotta think about strats. Anyways, I think the next step was to do the inside of this edge, which will be interesting. This much should be enough. As I'm not doing half on this one, I am mostly getting the tape so that it covers the middle here. Alright, looks good. And then, this is all going to be covered, so it doesn't matter too much. If you really want, you can trim this. I just don't see the point in doing that. It makes your plane slightly lighter, that is true, but I don't think it's worth the hassle to do that. So, 1, 2. See, I'm not a complete perfectionist. That would, probably result in a better end product, but I don't have that type of patience, even though I've dedicated multiple streams to this project already. Just use our X-Acto knife to trim this tape down to size. And we don't need to do that for the other side because we are just straight up going to trim the excess off here. So first I'm going to mark out the line here just to confirm that's where we're going to cut. And then just tightly match this nose shape. Trim that off. Trim that off. Trim that off. Trim that down. So now the shape is custom tailored for that side to match the nose. And then the final step here is to grab a piece of tape, flip your plane over, alright, tape this edge here. And then make several cuts to approximate this edge. So I usually do 3 tabs, should be enough. And then you just tightly wrap this around. Yeah, that's the problem with these nose pieces. They're, so much curvature is concentrated here. So it's quite difficult to do like a 3D structure and have it be like well defined and expected, right? If you define a shape, you want to make that exact shape, it's going to be a little bit difficult with the methods that I have right now. So that is pretty much it. Look at that nose. That is very clean. All right, let me just grab a lighter background here so you guys can see. That is a clean nose structure. So the only thing that I am a little bit critical of is this line. It's not entirely straight, but if you don't look at it from that angle, this looks very nice. It looks very clean, and it's very smooth. Right, it kind of reminds me of the F-22 in some ways, the nose, right? So, well, it is what it is. Next time we'll cover this middle piece down here. We'll develop a panel that covers more of this, right? I'll panel this a little bit more, and then, we'll make a panel that covers this, and then we'll do the nose cone, which would hopefully smooth out a lot of these layers, make the nose look sharp, very presentable. And then Oh yeah, we also got to tape the canards here. There's an open edge, right? So if I adjust this a little bit more, you can see that there is an open edge right here. So we got to tape that down. So that's something to do next time. Um, and then after all of that, then we can work on the final portion of the plane, which is vertical stabilizers. But really, there's like infinite amount of details, right? If we can reinforce this, reinforce that, or build another panel here just to reinforce everything. So I don't know like how many of those things I'm gonna do, but I do want to try and make the best plane possible that I can do so within my ability. So we'll spend probably several more live streams, weekly sessions on this, but this is looking pretty good so far, I think. Um, yeah, this is something else. This is gonna look quite nice. This is very smooth, like this paneling, right? This underneath nose structure is very nicely done. I'm just patting myself on the back at this point, but you get the idea. You want to be proud of your work that you do, right? Always try to push yourself a little bit. But that's it for me today. You know, I've been going over for like 20 minutes now. Yeah, it's just about 20 minutes over. But hopefully you guys learned something out of this, got something out of it, right? Um, if you have any questions, if you're watching now, leave them in the live chat, and I may or may not see them. But if you're watching in the future, if you watched through this whole stream, congrats, and leave a comment if you have any questions, and feel free to reach out. My Instagram is ben.fellow, so if you try to search that, you'll be able to find me, and just send a private message or something if you have any questions. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. It's, the virus is surging up again, so you know stay indoors, make planes. Don't go anywhere. Watch these streams. But anyways, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks.